My brother got a brand new car for his graduation. Dad said, "You're going to do great things." I opened my gift, a stack of cleaning supplies. Mom smiled. "It's time you help around the house." My brother snickered. I packed my bags and left. A few days later, my parents called in panic. "Where are you? Come back." Before we begin the story, take a moment to support us by liking, sharing, and subscribing. Your support means the world to our channel and helps us spread more shocking true stories to light. Now let's get started. The weight on my shoulders. This has been sitting heavy on my heart for a long time, and I think it's finally time to let it out. The whole situation with my family has been nothing short of frustrating, but even then, I never expected things to spiral the way they did. I'm still in shock, honestly. So sit back, because this is one of those stories you won't believe. First, a little about me. My name is Oliver, and I'm the eldest sibling in my family. Growing up, I always felt like I had to be the responsible one, the one carrying the weight of the world, while my younger brother, Liam, got away with, well, everything. I'm 26 years old now, working a regular 9-to-5 job, still figuring things out like most people my age. But if there's one thing I've always been, it's reliable. It was drilled into me from a young age. Hard work pays off, even if the rewards come slowly. And I believed it. I still do. Liam, on the other hand, is 22, and let's just say, hard work has never been his strong suit. If there's one thing my brother excels at, it's bending situations in his favor. No matter what, he always manages to get exactly what he wants. New gadgets, designer clothes, spontaneous trips, all without lifting a finger. And our parents? They never hesitated to indulge him. Meanwhile, I was the one handling the dull, thankless tasks, cleaning up, running errands, doing whatever they didn't feel like dealing with. Our parents, Mom and Dad, were strict when it came to me. They always reminded me that nothing in life would be handed to me, that I had to earn my place. That was their favorite line. I never understood why they treated me differently from Liam. They always had some excuse. "We want you to be responsible. We want you to be prepared for life." But that only seemed to apply when it was convenient for them. If there was something important to be done, I was the one they relied on. If a big decision needed to be made, they turned to me. But when it came to Liam, he was their golden boy. No matter what he did, it was as if he could do no wrong. This unfair dynamic became a constant in my life. I learned to deal with it. I didn't get the flashy gifts or the special treatment, but what I did get was independence. By 16, I had a job. I worked my way through school. I learned how to survive on my own, while Liam was spoon-fed everything he ever wanted. But the moment everything truly started to unravel, it all began on the day of his graduation. The graduation that changed everything. Liam's graduation was a big deal for our parents. They acted like he had climbed Mount Everest when, in reality, he had barely scraped by in his classes. He never put in the effort, never stayed up late studying, never stressed about assignments. But despite that, my parents celebrated his graduation as if he had just earned a degree from an Ivy League school. And me? Well, you'll see. They planned a small gathering to celebrate. Nothing extravagant, but the way they talked about it, you'd think it was some nationally televised event. Balloons filled the house. A cake with Liam's name sat proudly on the table, and decorations were everywhere. It was clear, for them, this was one of the most important days of the year. I won't lie. I tried to be happy for him. I really did. But it was hard to ignore the bitterness creeping in when I thought about how different things had been for me. When I graduated, there were no decorations. No cake with my name on it. No grand celebration. Just a "good job, Oliver," and a pat on the back before I was asked to run an errand. That was it. But for Liam, he was treated like royalty. Still, I swallowed the frustration. I didn't want to be that guy, the one who complains, the one who resents his own brother. But the moment that really hit me, the moment that made me realize just how little my hard work meant to them, it was when they gave Liam his graduation present. I remember standing there, watching as my parents led him outside with excitement practically bursting from them. They were grinning ear to ear, and Liam was playing it up, acting like he had no idea what was coming. But I could see it in his eyes, he knew. And sure enough, there it was. A brand new car. Not a used car. Not something practical or affordable. No, a brand new, shiny, expensive car that they could barely afford. My heart sank. I later found out that my parents had taken out a loan just to buy it for him. They put themselves into debt for Liam. And yet, I knew that they never would have done the same for me. But still, I stayed quiet. I told myself, it's just a gift, it's just a car, let it go. I didn't want to let my emotions take over. Then it was my turn. I hadn't expected a car, obviously. I wasn't expecting anything big. But I thought, maybe, just maybe, they'd give me something meaningful. Something that showed they saw me, that they appreciated everything I had done for them. My mom smiled at me, but it wasn't her usual warm, motherly smile. It felt off, almost forced. "Oliver," she said in that overly sweet voice, "we know how responsible you are, and we just want to make sure you have something useful for your future." I tried to smile back, pretending I wasn't already bracing for disappointment. They handed me a small box. It was light in my hands. Too light. I opened it. Inside, neatly stacked, were household cleaning supplies. Sponges. Paper towels. Dish soap. That's what they gave me. I felt my stomach drop. There were no words. I stared at the box. My mind tried to process what I was looking at, trying to convince myself that this was some kind of joke. It wasn't. My dad chuckled. Slapping his knee like this was the funniest thing in the world. "Well, Oliver," he said, still laughing, "now you can be even more useful around the house. You've always been so responsible, after all." I could feel my fingers tighten around the box. Liam, sitting next to me, grinned. A smug, almost mocking expression on his face. "Yeah, Ollie," he said, smirking. "Now you can keep things nice and clean. I mean, you do all the chores anyway." My chest tightened. My face felt hot. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw the box across the room. But I didn't. I just stood up. "I need some air," I muttered, my voice cold and distant. Without waiting for a response, I grabbed my jacket, packed a small bag, and walked out the front door. I could hear my parents calling after me, but I didn't turn back. I walked, and walked, and walked. I don't even know how long I was out there, but by the time I finally sat down on a bench in the park, my head was spinning. I should have been furious. And I was. But more than that, I was tired. Tired of being the responsible one. Tired of being overlooked. Tired of giving everything and getting nothing in return. I pulled out my phone, scrolling mindlessly, trying to distract myself. I didn't want to go back home. But where else could I go? That house, it didn't even feel like a home anymore. I needed space. I needed to think. So I did the only thing that made sense. I called a cab and headed to Jake's place. The breaking point. Jake didn't even hesitate when I asked if I could crash at his place. He had been my best friend for years, and he knew more about my family situation than anyone else. When I walked into his apartment, he took one look at me and knew something was wrong. I must have looked completely drained. "What happened?" he asked, his voice calm but firm. I sat down on his couch, exhaling slowly, trying to find the right words. But where would I even start? The years of being overlooked? The way my parents had molded me into their personal problem solver while Liam was pampered like a prince? Or should I just skip to the part where my big graduation gift was a box of cleaning supplies? I let out a bitter laugh. "You won't believe this," I said, rubbing my temples. "Liam got a brand new car for graduation." Jake's eyebrows raised. "A car." I nodded. "And you know what I got?" He waited. I could see his patience thinning, his jaw tightening. I sighed and leaned back against the couch. "A box of cleaning supplies. Sponges. Paper towels. Dish soap." Jake's expression shifted from confusion to pure rage. "You're kidding." "I wish I was." He ran a hand through his hair, shaking his head. "Dude, that's..." He stopped himself, clenching his jaw. "That's beyond messed up. I mean, I always knew they treated Liam like he walked on water, but seriously?" I let out a hollow laugh. "Yep. Pretty much sums up my life." Jake was quiet for a moment, but I could see the frustration burning in his eyes. Finally, he said something that stopped me in my tracks. "Why don't you leave? For real. Just get out. Start over somewhere else. You don't need them, man." I blinked. The words hit harder than I expected. Leave? The thought had crossed my mind before, more times than I'd admit, but I'd always brushed it off. Where would I even go? What would I do? My entire life had been spent taking care of things, cleaning up other people's messes, making sure the household ran smoothly. Who was I without that? But then another thought hit me, even harder than the first. Who was I if I stayed? I swallowed hard, my throat dry. I don't know if I can just walk away. Jake leaned forward, his elbows resting on his knees. Dude, they don't care about you. They care about what you can do for them. That's not a family. That's a job. And last I checked, you're not getting paid for it. I exhaled sharply, rubbing my face. He was right. He was so right. I'd spent my whole life trying to earn something that was never going to be given to me. Respect, recognition, basic human decency. And for what? For a box of cleaning supplies? I sat there in silence, my mind racing. Could I really do this? Could I actually walk away from my family? Then I thought about Liam's smirk, my dad's laughter, my mom's condescending tone. I clenched my fists. Yes, I could, and I would. That night, I barely slept. My mind was too busy planning. By the time the sun rose, I had made my decision. I was leaving, walking away for good. The next morning, I woke up with a sense of clarity I hadn't felt in years. This wasn't just about the cleaning supplies. It wasn't just about the car. This was about my entire life. About the years I'd spent being the reliable one, the responsible one, the one they leaned on whenever things got tough. I was done. I thanked Jake for letting me crash at his place and then headed back home. Not because I wanted to stay, but because I had unfinished business. I was leaving, and my parents needed to know. The final goodbye. When I stepped into the house, everything felt different. Maybe it was because I had already made my decision. Maybe it was because, for the first time, I wasn't walking in as their personal assistant. I was walking in as a man who was about to reclaim his own life. I went straight to my room and grabbed a duffel bag. I didn't need much, just the essentials. My documents, some clothes, my laptop, whatever cash I had. I wasn't planning on coming back. Halfway through packing, I heard the familiar sound of a car pulling into the driveway. My heart pounded in my chest. They were home. The front door creaked open, followed by my mom's voice echoing down the hall. Oliver? She called, her tone confused. What are you doing? I stepped into the living room, my bag slung over my shoulder. I'm leaving. Her face twisted in shock. What? My dad walked in behind her, glancing at my bag. His expression darkened. Leaving to where? Anywhere but here, I said firmly. Silence. The weight of my words settled into the room, thick and suffocating. My mom's voice turned desperate. You can't just leave, Oliver. She stopped herself, shaking her head. You know we depend on you. I let out a bitter chuckle. Yeah, I know. I wasn't their son. I was their safety net. And I refused to be that anymore. My dad's voice was cold. After everything we've done for you, this is how you repay us. I stared at him, my jaw tightening. Everything you've done for me. I repeated. Like what? Treating me like a second-class citizen while you handed Liam everything on a silver platter? Giving him a brand new car while I got dish soap? That's what you've done for me. My mom's face paled. It's not like that, Oliver. You're making it sound. I cut her off. It's exactly like that. Then, of course, Liam had to insert himself into the conversation. He stepped into the room, leaning casually against the doorway, that same smug expression plastered across his face. Wow, Ollie, you're really being dramatic about this. He laughed. Just because you didn't get a fancy gift. I clenched my fists. This isn't about the damn gift, Liam. This is about the years of being treated like I don't matter. He rolled his eyes. Oh, please. You're acting like we abused you or something. News flash. Life isn't fair. Get over it. I took a step closer to him, lowering my voice. You have no idea what life even is, Liam. You've never had to work for anything. Never had to earn anything. And guess what? Mom and Dad won't be able to protect you forever. That wiped the smirk right off his face. Mom reached for my arm, her voice shaking. Please, Oliver, don't do this. We're family. I gently pulled away from her grip. No, Mom. Family doesn't treat each other like this. Dad crossed his arms, his jaw tight. Fine, he said. Go ahead. Walk out that door. But don't expect to come crawling back when life gets hard. I met his gaze, my expression calm. I won't need to. And with that, I turned, walked out the door, and never looked back. Starting over. The first few months were tough. I found a small apartment. Nothing fancy, just enough to call my own. I picked up extra hours at my job, grinding through long days, saving every penny. But for the first time in my life, I wasn't waking up to a list of responsibilities that weren't mine to handle. For the first time, I was free, and I wasn't just surviving, I was thriving. When success comes knocking. The months after I left were the hardest and the most liberating of my life. At first, it was just about survival. I picked up extra shifts, took on side gigs, and hustled like my life depended on it. Because in a way it did. I refused to fail. I refused to prove my parents right, that I'd come crawling back, desperate for their help. But something changed along the way. What started as just a way to get by turned into something bigger. I had always been good with numbers, with strategy, with planning ahead. So I started looking into ways to make money outside of my job. I studied, experimented, and poured every free second into building something of my own. And after months of grinding, it worked. At first, it was just a trickle, some extra cash here and there. But before long, I was making more from my side business than my actual job. For the first time in my life, I wasn't just financially stable. I was winning. I had control. I had options. I wasn't a millionaire or anything, but I was making enough. Enough to never have to rely on my family again. And then, almost like clockwork, they called. When the past comes crawling back. At first, it was just a simple text from my mom. Mom, hey Oliver, how's the new place? Hope you're settling in well. I stared at the message for a long time before replying with something short and vague. Me, I'm doing well. Work's keeping me busy. I didn't hear from her again for a few days. Then, another message. Mom, your dad and I have been thinking about you. We're really proud of you. You've always worked so hard, and we just want you to know we're here for you no matter what. I could feel the shift in tone. This wasn't just casual conversation. They were testing the waters. And I knew exactly why. So I kept my response neutral. Me, thanks, Mom. I appreciate it. And then, silence. For about a week, I thought maybe, just maybe, they had given up. But then came a message I had been expecting. Liam. Hey Ollie. Hope you're doing all right. I know things have been weird between us, but I just wanted to check in. How's work going? I stared at the message, letting out a humorless laugh. Liam? Checking in on me? Yeah, right? I wasn't an idiot. I knew Liam. He wasn't messaging me because he cared. He wanted something. So I responded the same way I had with Mom. Short, polite, distant. Me? Everything's good. Work's keeping me busy. A couple of days later, my phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't a text. It was a call. From my mom. I hesitated before answering. Hello. Her voice was sweet. Too sweet. Oliver. Honey, she started. I hope you're doing well. Your dad and I were just talking, and we were wondering if you could come by soon. We really miss you. I closed my eyes, exhaling slowly. Here it was. The real reason they had suddenly remembered I existed. I don't know, Mom, I said, keeping my voice neutral. I've got a lot going on. She hesitated. I could hear the shift in her breathing, the slight pause as she geared up for the guilt trip. Well, it's just that things have been a little hard lately, she admitted. With your brother's car payments and some unexpected expenses, we've been struggling. And, well, we could really use your help. And there it was. I almost laughed. The debt. The same debt they had willingly taken on to buy Liam a brand new car, the one they never could afford in the first place. And now, they wanted me to fix it. I clenched my jaw. I don't know what you expect from me, Mom. I'm not coming back. Her voice wavered. We know you're doing well. Oliver, we just thought maybe you could help us a little, just to get back on our feet. I felt my stomach twist, not out of guilt, but out of disgust. They hadn't called because they missed me. They hadn't called because they wanted to make things right. They called because they needed something. I took a deep breath. Listen, Mom, I'm not coming back. You and Dad made your choices. You put everything into Liam. You can't just come to me when things get hard. There was a long silence. Then, finally, her voice small, pleading. Oliver, please. I swallowed the lump in my throat. I couldn't do this again. I've worked too hard for this, I said, my voice steady. I'm not going to put myself back in that situation. And, for the first time in my life, I'm in it, cutting the cord for good. The calls didn't stop. If anything, they became more frequent, each one more desperate than the last. My mom would call, her voice filled with forced warmth, trying to act like everything was normal before eventually circling back to the real reason she was reaching out. Oliver, sweetie, we just don't know what to do anymore. The bills are piling up, and your father is so stressed. And Liam, he's been struggling too. You know how much we love you, right? And when I refused to take the bait, the tone shifted. It became about sacrifices, about how much they had given up for me, about how I owed them. You're really going to abandon your family? My dad had scoffed one night when I refused yet another plea for money. After everything we've done for you? I almost laughed. What exactly have you done for me, Dad? I asked, my voice calm but ice cold. Because from where I'm standing, the only thing you ever did was use me. Silence. He didn't have an answer for that. But the worst part? Liam. He had been quiet for a while, but when I finally got a message from him, I knew. He wasn't playing games anymore. Liam, Oliver, I need you to help me. Things are getting bad. Dad's been really upset. And Mom, she doesn't know what to do. We're in serious trouble. I stared at the message for a long time. A part of me wanted to ignore it. But another part of me, the part that had spent years cleaning up his messes, hesitated. For just a moment, I almost convinced myself to care. Then I remembered the smug look on his face as he mocked me on graduation night. I remembered how easy life had always been for him, how entitled he was. So I typed out a short response. Me. What do you want from me, Liam? His reply came almost instantly. Liam, I'm serious, Ollie. We're in debt. We can't keep up with the car payments. I don't know what else to do. I felt my jaw tighten. This wasn't just about my parents anymore. This was about Liam finally feeling what it was like to struggle. To be backed into a corner with no easy way out. And the first thing he did, turned to me, like always. I exhaled slowly, then typed out my response. Me, Liam, this isn't my problem. Liam, are you serious? You're just going to let us drown? And there it was. The manipulation. The same guilt trip my parents had been trying. But this time, I wasn't falling for it. Me, you and Dad put yourselves in this mess. I told you when I left, I was done. Don't ask me to fix your mistakes. There was a long pause before he responded again. Liam, wow, you're really just going to abandon your family like this? After everything we've been through? I clenched my jaw, gripping my phone so hard my fingers ached. Me, Liam, I was never your family. I was your backup plan. But guess what? I'm not anymore. And then, I blocked his number. The final call. I should have known my mom wouldn't let it end like that. A few days later, my phone rang, an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something told me I had to. So I picked up. Oliver, it was my dad. His voice wasn't angry this time. It wasn't accusatory. It was defeated. I stayed silent, waiting. He took a deep breath. I know he messed up. I blinked, caught off guard. We were wrong, he continued, his voice quieter than I'd ever heard it. Your mom and I, we didn't treat you the way we should have. We see that now. A lump formed in my throat. We just want our family back, he admitted. We want you back. I closed my eyes. For years, this was what I had wanted to hear. For years, I had dreamed of them realizing their mistakes, of them seeing me, not as a worker, not as a problem solver, but as their son. But now, it was too late. I exhaled slowly. I'm not coming back, Dad. Silence. Not angry silence. Not guilt-tripping silence. Just acceptance. I understand, he finally said. His voice was heavy, tired. Just, if you ever change your mind. I won't. I interrupted, my voice steady. You had your chance. And you wasted it. And with that, I hung up. True freedom. It's been a year since that last conversation. At first, I expected them to keep trying, to keep reaching out. But they didn't. They finally let me go. And you know what? I thrived. My business grew. My income doubled, then tripled. For the first time in my life, I didn't just feel free. I felt powerful. I built something for myself. Something that no one could take away. And I know, one day, when my parents find out how far I've come, when they see just how successful I've become without them, they'll come knocking again. But this time, I won't even open the door. Did I do the right thing? So, Reddit, tell me, was I wrong for refusing to help them? There are moments when I wonder if I should feel guilty, if I should have forgiven them. But then I remember everything they put me through. And honestly, I just don't know if I can ever forgive them. Let me know what you think. If you enjoyed this story, Don't forget to hit that like button, share this video with your friends, and subscribe for more real-life family dramas. Let me know in the comments what you think about today's story. Was it fair or totally messed up? See you next one.